Hi everyone, welcome to this first live stream of CSharpCorner. My name is Stephen Simon. I act as a regional director at CSharpCorner for India and South Asia region. Thank you so much for joining. So this live event is actually for this Eve, who is a Microsoft AI MVP from Denmark. She's going to be joining us, and okay, I'm sorry for that. That's a resound. So if you're watching this, so if you're watching this, if you have any queries, you can actually ask all those queries in the comment section below. And having said that, let us invite Eve to the stream. Hey Eve,
Hi,
welcome. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you for joining us and taking out your time. I know it's COVID-19. It's everyone is doing work from home, so it gets a little tough to get time. So thank you so much.
I thank you for the invitation. It is great to be here.
Yeah, I think we are here for like pretty long time from last 15-20 minutes,
Yes.
right? Doing
Yes.
chit chats a lot. So okay. So what's time over there? What's time at your place?
So right now I am in Copenhagen, in Denmark,
Mm-hmm.
and it is 15:30, so 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, so in India it is 7 in the evening, and if you are tuning from United States or America, it's going to be, I think, 9:30 in the morning. So thank you everyone who has joined us today. Eve is our guest. She's gonna answer all your questions that you ask, and if you
I
guys don't
try.
ask, I'm gonna ask her a lot of questions. Okay, so if you
Yes.
guys don't ask, I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna be a little tough. Okay, so before we get started, Eve, why don't you go and introduce yourself?
Okay, so hi all. I'm Eva Pardi, originally from Hungary, but right now I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. Work as a data engineer in full time, and in my free time I do a lot of community work. I participate in organizing and hosting different events. We just finished up our global AI on tour event. It was a 30 hours long event. It was pretty awesome. I'm also planning to do such talks and try to participate in more. Ask someone anything about AI and stuff in the
Yeah.
future as well,
Mhm.
because I am an AI MVP since February, and that was a great recognition. And thank you again for that, Microsoft. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not sure what else to say right now. We can just go on with questions and let's see.
Okay, so before we get into questions, so guys, you can see that she said Eve, but I added an asterisk in the beginning, right? The reason I think Eve's gonna answer that. Why did I add that asterisk? You have to answer that.
Yes, so I can tell you the whole story. It's pretty fun, actually. So when I started as an MSP at Microsoft Student Partner, it was a few years ago, and at that time I was in true love with the HoloLens and all kind of development around this area of technology. And at that time I was calling myself the Holo Girl because I
Okay.
was really around that. And actually, my original name is Eva. It's a very, very common Hungarian name, actually, and I
Mhm.
really love my name. It's not that, but at some point, around like 2 years ago or so, there was a VR company who made an application for adults, and they were providing their content like holo girls in it, which occurred to me it's maybe not the best idea to call myself the holo girl after all this, so I had to change it. But the Eva Party handle was taken by someone
By
on
someone.
Twitter, and
Yeah.
the annoying part was that that person is not even using Twitter, and it's
Mhm.
the actual name is Pardini, not even
Mhm.
Party. So instead of using Eva, I am now using Eve, also because
That's
that's cute, actually.
I think you mentioned about the Microsoft Student Partner. I was an MSP back here in India for like 3 years, and being an MSP in a student life, it's really exciting, right?
Yes.
You study not just your academics, you get to interact from people who work at Microsoft. You attend official Microsoft events. You represent Microsoft in your college campus. You participate in hackathons. We get to do the professional degree program for Microsoft. Uh, how can we not talk about the summits and the Imagine Cups?
Oh
That
yes.
that so did you ever participate in that Imagine Cup?
Yeah, not as a competitor. I was
Mm-hmm.
once, once I was helping in organizing and to get the people in. Once I also helped the team
Mm-hmm.
to get in and to give some ideas to them. What should they do and how should they get to the actual big competition, but only locally. So.
Yeah, so I went on to participate 3 times. I became a national finalist 2 times, but I could never win. I could never win. So
Oh
anyway, anyway, that's
yes.
fine. Okay, so talking about the agenda for today that we have, when you say yourself that you're a Microsoft AI MVP, right? And I, as a layman, when I hear Microsoft AI, so what is actually Microsoft AI? And when I hear for the first time, what should I expect Microsoft to deliver me in the field of AI?
Okay, so now that we are talking only about Microsoft specific tools and services, I can go on with first of all the cognitive services. That is something involved in this. Cognitive services involves different tools that is based on the human senses. Actually, for example,
Okay.
there is like the computer vision that is trying to copy the human eye. How does that work? That is, for example, something. Also, the different listening part, so it is able to hear a voice and analyze it, or even translate it. Also, you can make applications that is intelligent bot services for your applications. For example, I'm working on something right now that is a web shop, and I'm providing a tool that you can communicate with in written format or talk format, and you can just choose whatever language you want to use. It's pretty awesome and it's pretty broad actually. Um, but next to cognitive services, it is also possible to make your own models without using these REST APIs or SDKs that are provided. So this is also something we could talk about, the Azure Machine Learning Service that is involving a lot of different stuff as well, just like building your own model with the use of automated machine learning that could give you some ideas on how these different algorithms are working, giving you some ideas on which one works better for your specific problem. But you can also use this drag and drop environment that is right now called as Designer. It had a lot of different names. It was the original machine learning service that was just changed now to Designer and built into this whole service together. And you can, if you really want to try it out, to write your own code, you are welcome to use a notebook that is available also via this service, or you can pull the whole thing on your own environment, work in your favorite IDE, and write your code and deploy it, and it's ready to go. Um,
That's well said. That's really well said. That was a long one. So it seems that you're working in this field from a really long time now, right? So one thing, even I think, is when I started with this machine learning and deep learning part, I started my journey by writing Python codes, right? Then I moved into algorithms. I started learning scikit-learn libraries. Then I moved into TensorFlow. So if I come from a pure coding background, right? So how does Microsoft would leverage me? I mean, I'm a Python code. So can I write Python code in any of these Microsoft AI services?
yes, and Python is also available for you, but you can use actually C Sharp or Node.js as well. There are some different opportunities you can use with cognitive services. But you are also allowed to make your own code and deploy that and use that as an AI model. Basically, you can also use this designer. If you don't want to write the whole service by yourself, you can just make your model. So the algorithm that is training your model, and then that is used inside designer. And there are a lot of opportunities for you that you can go with. Um,
Great, great, great. One more thing I think you mentioned about the notebooks, right? The notebooks. So when I use when I code on my local machine, I use Spider as my IDE and Anaconda as my environment. So when I use Anaconda as an environment, it gives me the Jupyter notebooks itself, right,
Yes.
where I can write some code and it's pure interactive. I can see the graphs over there, and also I can write some HTML over there so that it looks very beautiful, and then I can share it with as an HTML code. uh, how does the Jupyter that I run on my local machine is different than what it runs on Azure, as just you said?
Well, practically not much. The
Okay.
difference is really that it is not running on your local machine, but it runs on the cloud. Um, I actually could show you around later if you are guys interested. How does it look?
Hmm.
But literally the environment on the Azure notebooks, it's exactly the same like what you would expect on a local IDE. It's just
Hmm.
you have a better scalability that you can work
Yep.
with. That is
Yep.
sometimes useful, especially when you grow bigger with your projects. You start working with bigger amount of data or stuff like
Hmm.
that. So in that case, you might want to extend the resources as well. And in
All
that
right.
case, it's very useful to use the cloud.
So I think I remember when I used to work on Azure ML Studio. In the configurations, there's a setting where we can actually add team members to our a project or an experiment. I think in that case, if there are multiple people in a single experiment or a project, people can actually view your experiments. They can view your data sets, and they can also view your Jupyter file. So I think that is where it really gets. Okay, handy. And I think Austin says Azure Notebook sounds awesome. Yeah, I think
Yes.
Eve. I think how often do you use notebooks, Eve?
Almost all the time. Sometimes it's just sometimes it's a whole pipeline. I would call it an Eve pipeline because it's not really, an actual pipeline in this case. It's what I mean now is that I like to write my own code for everything, so I see what is happening and make sure that what I change it is changed because of reason in the end of the story. So it's like after one iteration, I get a result, and that result can tell me very well what should I make, what changes should I make on my code to get a better result in the end. So I use it daily basis actually. So
Okay, okay. So guys who are just tuning, just stay tuned. I think Eve is have some demo projects that she's going to show us in some 5 minutes or so. So let's take one question that I have is for you. I mean, as we have started the session, now if I'm a pure Python code, you said even C you can write with C sharp and then many other supports for the language. What is the first step for me as a software developer? I already code as a software developer to move into the field of Microsoft AI.
so the good thing for people who just getting started is that they don't necessarily need to know everything about these algorithms, but it's good to do that. So I would suggest really for everyone who is just getting started with AI in general and with machine learning and such to get a good idea on how the mathematics working behind the
Hmm.
theory is, some of the algorithms, how to make a prediction, basically how statistics are working. This can save your life when you have to improve
Hmm.
an AI solution. And when I'm saying this, it's because the AI solutions provided by Microsoft are not something that is, it's you cannot use it like for every kind of problems. It might be trained for something, but you might have to work forward to get a better result for your own problems. It means that if you don't know where to make the improvements or how to do it, then it's not going to work well in the end. For example. Um, for example, you have a tabular data set that is just you download it from Kaggle or whatever, and then put it into some designer that I will show you later, and then you start doing some basic stuff that you have learned before on some different documentations, and you make the basic steps, and then you get a result and some error calculations and whatnot. And then you need to make a decision by yourself what to change. Maybe you want to have new features, or you want to change a bit on the algorithm, or and so on. But you don't know that without having good information on how the mathematics is working behind. Obviously, to get started, it is a really good place to start to go and try out the Microsoft services.
As you mentioned about the data set, I see there are many data sets already in the Azure ML Studio, right? One of the favorite data set I think we all might have worked on, that might be Titanic data set, right? I think that did you really work on it?
I actually haven't worked on it. It is
Really?
funny that everyone says that. I mean, I heard this many times that everyone starts with that. I
Hmm.
started with the credit data set.
Credit
Yeah.
card fraud detection. Yeah, yep.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's the best
that
thing.
was also involving a lot of predictive tasks, not
Hmm.
just prediction, but not just telling whether you can get a credit or not. It also was able to give a prediction on when someone might need more money, or some
Hmm.
things like that.
Yeah.
And it was a very useful data set to start with. So.
That's nice. That's nice. So there's a great one. I think Azure ML Studio has evolved in the time, and as you mentioned in the earlier, it's a pure. They have some canvas in the center where you can just drag and drop the models that you need. Also, you mentioned about the algorithms, right? So what are a couple of algorithms, or I should say, 3 to 4 algorithms that one must have a basic idea to get started at the ML Studio, or even to get even for machine learning in general?
Mm, um, it's very difficult to put it like this.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So, what for example, everyone likes to use is recommendation systems.
Hmm.
That is good to know how to use it.
Hmm.
A lot of classification tasks, telling whether this is a dog or a cat,
Hmm.
or such exercises.
Hmm.
Um, Also, we have a lot of cases when we want to do some um, what is it called? When for example we expect that something will go wrong
Hmm.
at some point. We don't know yet when, but with the time going, at some point this item will go yellow and red and whatever. So this tool is telling you when should you think about replacing that part or something. That's also something useful that is often requested. Um, and nowadays we are just getting to the point where visual operations are very important. When we are talking about visual, I'm not necessarily talking about images only.
Hmm.
uh, Here I'm talking about video analysis, voice analysis as well, actually together, so sound and image as well.
Hmm.
um, so it is a quite big need nowadays, what I can see.
I think Rohit has. We have one question. Rohit, he says, do Microsoft AI have some trial program or demo program where students can try it out?
Yeah, so many parts of these services are available for free, but when you're a student, you actually might have this Microsoft Imagine program.
Exactly. Yeah. Earlier, I think it was they had a different website for imagine.microsoft.com. I think they just revamped a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm.
So
But here I have to be very honest with you. I Since I'm not an MSP for like 3 years, I'm not sure anymore what is involved in that program anymore. But I know that in that program, many Azure services are available for students. Other than that, there are free things available for you. Sadly, at the moment, as far as I know, only the enterprise version of the Azure Machine Learning Service provides you the designer and the automated machine learning.
okay.
For now, I would suggest you to use the, I would say, old version, but that's not that old either. It's the
Hmm.
previous version. That was called, what was it called?
I think the ML Studio
The
is always free, right?
studio.azureml.net.
I think the machine learning studio is always free, right?
Yeah, but that's not inside the service I am talking about right now. This is the
Mm.
original version, or classic. It says, yeah, the classic.
Okay, yeah,
So the
yeah.
studio.azureml.net. That's something maybe that you want to go with to start with.
So I think talking about the benefits by the time you find it out, the benefits of Imagine is like you just have to prove that you are a student. You can upload your college ID card, or even if you have a school email ID. If you have a school email ID, your account will get verified on the fly. Whereas if you have a school ID, or say a physical ID, you need to scan it and upload it, and I think they will approve it within 24 hours or 48 hours of working day. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I think at least you get $100 benefits. As far as I remember, for the first month you can use all the services for free, and then
Yes.
later on they're very all the essential services are available for you for your next 1 year. So I think imagine.microsoft.com is something Rohit or you guys should visit. And all the guys you're watching, you can actually, if you have any queries, you can write down in the comment section below wherever you're watching. It may be on Skype, or sorry, it may be on Facebook, or it may be on Twitter. You can just write it down, and then Eve is gonna answers the question. So Eve, would you like to share your screen and show the what you got on this
Let's
website?
have some fun.
Yep. And one
Okay.
suggestion, maybe when you're showing the code, I think maybe you would like to zoom it, right?
Yeah, sure. I will just ask you whether you see everything.
Yeah.
So now you should see my portal.azure.com. Is that
Yep.
right? So I'm going to start with that I show you first the ML service, because that's something we don't need much code for. I'm just going to show it. So as we have talked about before, we need to have an Azure subscription to start with. And when you want to create a new service, you can just do it here. And you might want to make an ML service for yourself. So you can just choose it from AI and machine learning and choose the machine learning from here. And then you specify a name for it, you specify the subscription, where should you put it. You should have a resource group for yourself that you can use, or you can create a new one. You also able to make a decision yourself where you want to put it. It maybe makes sense to put it around yourself somewhere. And you can choose whether you want the basic or enterprise. The basic is free mostly, but you are welcome to see the pricing as well on this page. I'm not going to go into this right now, but yeah, just then review and create, and it's just ready to go. And then when it's done and it's running, I'm just going to yes, please, thank you. So when it's running, you will be navigated to this page where you can see the overview of your service. And right now it looks like this, and you can just go to launch now, which opens up the service for you. I'm just gonna hide this. All right. So when you get started, you can see you can do work with notebooks, make an automated machine learning pipeline, or build your own machine learning thing for with yourself, with your designer, and use I'm just calling it a drag and drop playground. So I am going to start like that how can you get started, because it's
Mhm.
always interesting to hear that many people start with coding. Then obviously it is really hardcore to pick up AI as a first thing after you coding, because when I talk about building a machine learning model with code, there you really need to have a lot of background knowledge and know about what kind of algorithms there are for you. Instead, you might want to go to automated machine learning and try and run it, because I'm not going to run it now. It takes a very long time. But what you can do is that you start making one. You choose a data set that you want to work with, and then you just choose what data you want from it. I just want to keep everything for now for this. You can see some statistics. It's just taking a while. Yeah, so you can see some statistics. This is the same statistics you would get with the describe function, actually. It's just a bit more detailed, as you can see. Right. And you just go on. What you can do then is to give it a name, specify what is the column you want to predict. In this case, this is going to be a predictive algorithm. right now. And what I want to do is just choose a computer where I will run my experiment. I'm just going to give it a name. And then you are able to make a decision whether you want to go with classification algorithms or regression or forecasting. Yeah, this was the word I was looking for. That didn't come to my mind. But now what I would like to do is just a classification. Maybe you can also enable deep learning. This is still in preview version, but it works quite
I
well.
Eve, I think the moment you said deep learning, there's a question in our panel that says,
Yeah.
"What is deep learning?" I mean, on
Wow.
this very straight, I heard, I just heard, "What is deep learning?"
Yeah,
I
I'm
thought
going to
asked.
try to explain it in a very,
Hmm.
very simple way.
Yep.
So when we talk about artificial intelligence, I mentioned you that it is basically trying to copy the human senses. What deep learning is trying to copy how the human brain's working. To say it very ugly way, so it's like imagine that you, for example, have for example, you see something, and that sense goes to first neuron that is going to do some processing on this information and maybe send it forward. In a non-deep learning or a classic algorithm, it is after this transformation just sent to the output and you get a result in the end. But in deep learning, this information is sent to another node where it is getting processed again and again, and it is going on while you have something that you want to process. And after all these processes, you get an output. How this looks like and why is it called deep learning is because it starts from an input layer. It has some middle layers as well, and then an output layer. So it is getting deep until it gets to the output. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that I think that the last one really makes sense. It has different layers. It passes through it, right? I think that's nice,
Yes,
nice. And
it
then,
can be explained very well on image processing actually, but that's I'm not sure if that is in scope right now. Should I go into that?
sorry.
Should I just try to? When we talk about deep learning, it is the best way to do that when you talk about image processing. If you
Exactly.
want,
Yeah.
I can go into that deeper, but if that's not in scope, I can just go on with this.
Yeah, yeah, you can go on. And I think that there's one
Okay.
more question. Rohit asked once again that
Yeah.
Microsoft AI generally implements deep learning or machine learning. He's yeah.
Okay. It's always a good question to talk about what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning.
Okay.
And it's interesting to talk about this because it's one very important part of it. So we cannot really talk about comparison between deep learning and machine learning. What Microsoft does for you is that it gives you the opportunity to use AI solutions with the use of machine learning and deep learning, which means that machine learning is, I always explain it like this, that machine learning is basically the process. So what happens that you give some data to it, and then it does some transformation and then spits it out and maybe make more and more iterations. This is
Mhm.
the processing that you do with the machine, that you're teaching the machine. So when the machine is learning, this is machine
Mhm.
learning. When deep learning is part of this. This is one of the algorithms, basically, or that's also ugly to say, but that's one of the one of the models. Maybe that's easier to say it like that. So, for example, a classification machine learning model is going to look at the data and then let some iterations and do some processing, but it's not going to have a different processing in it. It's going to have just maybe one, and otherwise you can just send it through on different transformations and processing, and that's deep learning. Both of them you can do in AML.
I think you can talk a lot about when
Yeah,
start
it's
talking
always a
about.
question that comes up,
Yeah.
and it's always really fun to try and explain it. It's
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
I think you answered Rohit very well, and I hope his query is clear now. I think moving back to where we actually left was your Azure
Mhm.
services that we're talking about. So
Yes, so I'm going to try and open it up here. So this was one of my previous runs. This was again the classification model that I used with deep learning. And what you can get out from this is the different models that we're running. So this thing is really useful. You can get out the accuracy information, and you might want to choose the one that performed the best. And you can just take a look, see some details about it. You can see some visualizations and whatnot. There are a lot of information that can help you. But again, you need to understand how the specific model you're looking at works, because then you will understand what these visualizations mean and how you can improve it. But other than that, it's also like it's giving us the confusion matrix. That is also good to know how to use it. And
Eve, I have one question. I
yes,
have one question. I mean, when I go to different colleges and all level sessions, one question is people they ask me, what is confusion matrix? Where are
ah,
the correct outputs? Where are the wrong
good.
outputs? Why don't you explain us the four different sections of a confusion matrix or whatever it happens?
Yeah, we can talk about the confusion matrix. It's
Hmm.
just this is the worst example I had ever. But yeah, so the idea behind the confusion matrix is that is telling you how confused your model is. This is the best explanation. So what you do is that so I gave it some data which had three different labels. So what does that mean? It was I think it was something with the quality. So that whether it is good, that was the number 3, that is good quality. The okay quality was the number 2, and the worst quality was the number 1, or something like this. And then what this confusion matrix shows you that this is what labels I give it. So 1, 2, 3, and this is what it predicted for the same row. So what you can show here is that it's 326 times it defined the number 1 as a predicted label, and it was the same label that I gave it. So 326 times it was correct.
Okay.
So and this one is very ugly. I actually want to see. Yeah, we had this percentage kind of thing. It's much better to see how this works. So in 80% of the time, we get the correct label for the number 2. This kind of tells you, and you can see that most of the time it is the number 2, see? That is predicted. That is telling you that the darker the color of this, that is more prediction happen for this number. So what happens here, what you can see here is that it's probably in okay, I didn't want to do that.
I said, but that was a really cool feature, right? What just
Yes, I
happened?
just don't know how to go back from it. Anyway,
Maybe I think I think the best part about this Microsoft Azure is they keep on coming with an updates on a very regular basis. I mean, if I'm using a feature in the morning, by the evening, the feature really get enhanced. They bring some new updates. So of course, I think Microsoft is working a lot about the features and the Azure. And I still remember when I started my journey working on Azure, it wasn't known as Microsoft Azure, it was known as Windows Azure, right?
ah,
That
yes,
that
that was a
yeah,
long time ago.
that's long time back. We get
Yeah,
our metrics
we
once
were
again.
MSPs at that time.
Yeah,
I remember when they changed it, and every time I went to hold a session, I had to change it from, and
yeah.
I kept saying Windows Azure, and I was like, no, it's called Microsoft Azure. Anyway,
And now I think they have recently changed Office 365 into Microsoft 365, if I'm not wrong.
okay, now you're bringing in a topic that I sort of have an idea about, but I really don't want to talk about this because those are not the same things. So
Oh,
Office
that's
65 and M65 is two different stuff. But anyway, don't let's not start with that right
yeah,
now.
exactly, exactly. Let's get back. I think we have our confusion matrix once again.
Yeah, so the confusion matrix, I just wanted to have one last sentence here that as you can see, we got the number 2 back most of the time. It's because it is, we gave some examples on the number 1 and number 3 as well, but most of my examples were maybe number 2, sorry. So you might want to have more values on the number 1 or the number 3. So what should you do? So this is when you might want to think that, okay, I would like to use this model. Like, why not? It works well, sort of. It seems like it's okay. but you might not want to do it by yourself. So you don't want to build your own environment right now. So I'm just going to show something here that when you go maybe to this environment, this is the drag and drop designer thing. And I made an experiment where I passed the same data set, the wines data set, and I made some changes on it, and I added an algorithm that you can use. But you are welcome to make your own code. I just put this in as well. So what you can do is that you make your own code. You can just write it in here, and that you can just run instead of this algorithm that you can choose from there.
That
Because
that's great. That's great. I mean, you don't have to write an algorithm. If I want to use a
yes,
polynomial linear regression, I can just drag and drop it in the canvas.
exactly, and you have a lot of choices.
So
I hope it's
that's great.
visible, but it's you have a really lot of choices that you can choose from. You can just go and look for it, and this is very similar, like in the classic one. I'm not sure if this will work for me still. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
try it. But it's really similar. The only difference we have now is that we have a lot of new features, and a lot of new are coming, and
Hmm.
they are keep working to get the required functionality in the new version as well. So I supposed to have a few experiments here, yes, and yeah, so these beautiful ones. In here, I don't have the other one, but the idea was just that I wanted to show you is that you similarly have the same kind of setup, right? So you have on the left side, you have your tools that you would like to use. You can just go there and start working with it. You have your already trained models that you want to you maybe use. You can use different transformated data set that are prepared by yourself, or it is something that you can use from samples, and so on and so on. We could just continue with this for hours. Maybe that's not the best idea to do right now.
Yeah.
But then what I can also show you is quickly the notebooks. And this one is also available, I think, for free-ish via this URL. And you can just go on and sign in, and then when you get in, you can see your own projects, or you can just create new ones as soon as it wants to load it. But the idea is that I think these environments are maybe freer than this one. So let's see, which one should we play with? Maybe I'm just gonna go with, okay, I think I'm going to show you this one, but really doesn't matter. The idea is the same. So it is the same IDE like you are used to. And don't worry, when you open this up, you can see the code is the similar notebook kind of idea. The same code is working here. You don't have to worry. It's not PySpark or anything. It can be your own Python code or whatever you like. You can create your own CSV files in here as well. So you can just build it here. So you don't have to go and just upload possibility. You can just make your own files here. And what you can do is that you can choose computation for yourself, or you can create a new one, and then you can just edit in line. But I don't know if you noticed it. You can
Hmm.
also put out your code into Jupyter. So you're welcome to just go with your favorite IDE how you want. And one
That's
thing I
cool.
forgot to show you just before, because that is just top of the iceberg, that you can do this, that okay, you put it together here, you put the code together in here, you even want to do some training in here and whatnot. You can all do that here as well. But the best is that when you create an automated machine learning and want to improve your models with code, because you are so ready to do that, because you're really interested in this, so you want to try it, you can just go and choose the algorithm you wanted to do, you wanted to work with, and you can just download it. And then you download the code, and then you can work with that on your local environment, or obviously you can upload it to notebooks as well, and all that. So I think it's pretty awesome that it provides you these opportunities. So let's say that was it from the Azure Machine Learning Studio part. I
Hmm.
would go on with cognitive services unless there are any questions.
I think we have one question. We'll take that. One thing that I want people to know is I really love the themes that Microsoft Azure has. They have a couple of themes. You can choose the light theme, the dark
Oh,
theme, and I
yes.
think there's also a default theme. Earlier, it wasn't like that. So
No,
it's
this is
been,
not default. I only always change it to dark. Everything should be dark.
yeah, I like dark. So that's the best part.
Oh, my
I
ID
think
is not dark as well.
indeed, indeed. I think I think we have one question that says again. Rohit is very excited and asking very questions. I think he's very eager to learn. Rohit
Mhm.
says, "Being a Python person, do I need to learn C sharp to use Microsoft AI?"
No, no need. You can just do that. I'm going to show you some cool stuff now. Um, because that's how I'm going to show you that it is possible to use C Sharp Node.js, but I am a Python person as well.
Hmm,
And all the documentations are available in Python too. And if you don't find something, you're welcome to reach out to me anytime. I'm going to show you later all the possible places where you can find me, so you can just ask me questions.
that's
Um,
great. That's great. I mean, only on LinkedIn it's gonna be Eva. Everywhere it's Eve. Maybe
yeah,
maybe Eve,
basically.
you should change it to Eve even on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
right?
maybe I should change my name. I know. It's like I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going ahead, as I mentioned before, cognitive services is the other. We how do you in Hungarian there is an explanation that is the motherboard or something like that. That is
Motherboard, the computer
motherboard, yes,
motherboard.
something like that. Yes, 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 and that's so cognitive services and Azure ML is the two parts of the big AI family in Azure. And so I'm wanted to show you around a bit, just a tiny bit, starting with some of the services. Um, like I have created a few here already, so that's not something crazy to do. It's just you go to add, you choose AI and machine learning, and you start typing. I don't know, I want to do something with speaking, and then you get some ideas what you can use here, right? Um, but I have created a few already, and for this demo, I have used what did I use? The speech to text. So it was this speech service and the translator. So how did I do that? I'm just going to open up my Visual Studio here. And again, this is all Python code. And yes, you can see some of my keys and whatnot, but that's fine because, I trust you guys. And I can just change it anytime. Anytime. So what I'm just doing here is that I first of all made a function to translate from the text that I get in, and what I expect is that I will have an input, and that input should be translated. And in the end of the story, I'm just going to get the request out, get the request in, sorry, and the response of the request will be returned in JSON.
If is it possible if you can zoom it a little bit?
Uh-huh. I can try. Me, I always knew that I need my mouse for this. Wait a second. Just going to make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, I think there's a default feature in the Visual Studio where you can increase the font size, right?
Control plus plus. Good. So this is going to
Yep, that I think one more.
be a bit big. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Like
that's good.
better.
That's good. Yep.
All right. So, so you define that you want to translate to German and then to Italian, to French, and then Hungarian.
Hmm.
And then, because Hungarian is a cool language, okay? And anyway, the point is that, and then I return the response. And the other thing is, and this is under huge improvements right now. I'm trying to change this to recognize words from the microphone continuously, because it can do it if you speak it up and then start talking, and then at some point it has to be over. What I want to make happen is that it is working continuously. For example, this session could be translated into 5, 6, whatever many languages as well, and from all around the world, you can sort of understand what I'm saying if you don't speak the language I'm talking, which is pretty cool. So what this is doing is that it's reading in a file that is first test.wave, and then specifying the config. Okay, this is first I'm having an input here because I need to define that my input is going to be this file. and then the configuration will get it like this. Why is it needed? It's because this doesn't need to have a file here. This can also be a microphone, and I think I left in some code in here, so just forget it. So it's enough to just define this configuration actually, and then you just pass it to the speech recognizer, and then it's going to read in the files what you pass or the microphone, and then it's going to start doing some work here that I won't explain one line by line, but the idea is that in the end I'm going to get the results out of this, and then when that's over, I am going to, this is where the microphone part starting, but don't worry about that. But so first I run to recognize from the file, put it in the result, and then on the result I'm going to call the translate function, and that's it. So let's see, how does this work? Oh, before that, maybe I don't know how to share the voice of it, but it says that hi, I am Eva from Hungary. It's nice to meet you, and something like this. And then the weather is nice, and it's just a little wind or something like this. But you will see because it will write it out as well. So I'm just gonna run this code and then make it a bit bigger so you can see what happens. And so the session started, and it starts reading in the file, and you can see that it is writing out already the result. And when it is done, it wrote out the original result. That hello, I am, okay, it couldn't understand my name, but that's not a problem. It's very nice to meet you. The weather is really nice today. The sun was shining and just a little wind. And then it is going to translate it basically sentence by sentence, or we can call it intention, basically. But yes, we can just translate it to Germany, Italian, French, and Hungarian. As this is the funniest translation I've ever seen, but whatever. But the rest is really translated perfectly, so I can see that other sentences are working like a dream. So it's pretty cool. So you can do these things. What you can also do is that, and that I just give you some ideas as well. You can maybe add a few other things. So maybe this image to text that I will show you in a moment. How does that work? But maybe you want to, from an image, you want to get the text and translate it in your own language. This is something that is used by many phones actually already, so it's not something new, but you can do your own service by this, which is really awesome. So how does this work? If you have done a computer vision cognitive service, you will get the API key and whatever. And all you have to do is to just go to the environment that you chose, because okay, that part I might just show you quickly. So when you create a service, I don't know if you remember, but for example, if you create this service, you need to define where should it be. And this location is really important to keep in mind, because and then that from this point, when you choose it, you will use it when you want to reach it. Because there are some references as well you can use, so you don't necessarily need to go and write code right away. You can just use it from here. So you go to your environment, dev.cognitive.microsoft.com, and then just go and test it. So I choose to play with the OCR, and I'm going to tell this that I am in North Europe. So it is going to be updated, and it expects me to give it the key. So I'm just gonna go back and get the key from here, if it also wants, of course. Are you guys already sleeping?
No, I'm enjoying that part.
And I'm just gonna add the key here. And then here you can specify the URL of the image. And I prepared an image for you. This is the one.
This is cool. This is cool. How to write your own how to book. I think
Exactly.
I think I may like to write how to cook maybe. I
Oh
think
yeah, sure, something like that. Exactly. So what I'm going to do is that, and what I expect is that it's going to be able to read. So it's going to be able to read everything from this picture. So the only thing you need to do is to pass this as a request into this URL. You can do this from Postman as well, if that's more comfortable for you. This is just a reference you can use if you want to test it. So the request is going to look like this, that it has the URL you passed, where is it hosted, remember the the region. What is the content type is the JSON, and the secret key that you need to specify, and the JSON formatted URL. I'm just gonna send this. And after analysis, it's going to return me a good answer, which I'm very happy for. And it's going to return you a lot of information that you will never use. But yeah, so it's going to tell you what is the language. You will get a lot of information about, for example, orientation. And it is also telling you boxes. So see, this image has, for example, a box here. This is another box. This is another one. It is telling you almost just not the font size, but this is telling you that these are in different areas and that it looks differently. And yes, it's telling you that okay, and then there is the text here. Oh, sorry. So become an author on your, and until here, you can see that's one line. Become an author on your, and then the next line, own favorite topic, and then again, if you have always wanted to, okay, this couldn't read it, but write, book, make it happen today, and you can see that it's like it is written like that. Can you see it? I hope it is visible well.
Yeah,
It is. I
it's
think it's
very,
pretty awesome. And what
yeah.
you have, what you can do from this point is that you just get out from this JSON file. You can just get into here and get from the words you want to get the text. And then you can make a list of strings or whatever, and then you can use it and then put it into this application that is ready to translate it for you. There are a lot of things that you can use and you can play with. All right. Any questions?
Uh, I think we have one. Let me see. I'm not sure if this is for AI, but a guy asked, is it possible that machine IQ is like a human IQ?
Wow, these are big questions now.
Yeah,
We're getting there. So how about I'm stop sharing and we just have a chat about these things as well. I think
indeed,
maybe it was
indeed.
enough of tech.
Yep, yep, yep.
All right, so just stop sharing. So now I'm back. Hello, guys, again. So
Okay, and yeah, so you can answer that question, and I think we have one more question.
okay. So we are now could talk about a lot of things when we are talking about human intelligence and the computational intelligence. It's something that is not getting very close to each other yet. So it's not something that is going to happen today or tomorrow or in the next, I don't know, few years. I don't know when will it happen. It might happen, but we are calling that thing as super intelligence. This is the word for this. I had a few discussions on this with others, and the situation is that since for a basic machine learning problem, you already need such a computation, such a resource that super intelligence is simply cannot be done right now. It's as long as we cannot go with the intelligence and the resources together. So you cannot put enough computation under your models, so it is able to become super intelligent. It won't happen, and we all know how does this graph looks with. What is that called? There was this guy who once calculated that with the world is going with the time, the computation, so the CPU and all that strength is going up for a long, long, long while,
I
and
like
then
it.
it stops. Yeah, I'm really trying to explain how does it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so since we cannot produce such a strong environment that could handle superintelligence, it is not something that is available for developers at the moment. I say it like this because there are obviously a lot of research under it, and there are a lot of work that is happening on the side.
Indeed, well said. I think infrastructure is something that we need to develop to reach up to that scale. And with the current infrastructure that we have, we have very limited resources now. It's going to take long. As we all know, even AI is not a new term. It has been there in the market for a really long time. The machine learning has been there, and now with the good systems that we have, the good infrastructure of cloud and all, we are able to use it on the fly. There will be a time where we'll be able to achieve that level also, but as you said, right, the infrastructure needs to work on. I think
Yeah.
we are already 55 minutes for our webinar. I think we will close it in next 5 minutes, right? So
Okay.
let's give it to only 60 minutes. Couple of queries that I think we may take now is from Tareen Sib. It says, does language conversion requires us to know the grammar of the language to which we are converting?
That's a perfect question. The best is that it's not recognizing. It somewhat recognizes the language you are using, but I think it doesn't matter much to recognize the grammar. It will, in worst case, it won't be able to translate it perfectly. So it's like, for example, that in the translation I showed you, and I was saying that, oh hell, that translation is very funny in Hungarian. It was because
Mm-hmm.
probably
Mm-hmm.
it didn't understand me in the best way. But again, these models can be improved, so it's not something that you have to just accept. I think it is something we should really work hard on, that we know how to improve these things, and we can train our machines to perform better. So
That's cool. That's cool. So I think knowing grammar is not something he should worry. One should worry, right? Knowing
yeah,
grammar is not. So one thing, if you were using this VS Code in your demo part, and which is I think very famous in every developer is using, no matter they come from a JavaScript background, or a Python background, or a C Sharp background. Sometimes that I feel struggle working with VS Code. I think they might have some tools or libraries. Uh, is is VS Code really good to work with Python for machine learning if I compare it to Spider or R Studio or anything else?
I I wouldn't compare them like this, better or not
Mm-hmm.
better. I think it is really the important part is that it has to be comfortable for you. You have to know your
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, it's good that you can work with something that you prefer. It's
Mm.
really not a problem whether you use Spider or VS Code or whatnot, or you
Mm.
go online and you try it on the online notebooks or whatever. So it's really up to you how you prefer, what you like to use. Just go with that.
That's great. So I think if you guys are watching, VS Code is very much, it has all the capabilities that if you're using Spider, it also has Jupyter notebooks. You can also run those graphs and all. And I think since it is open source, right? People contribute a lot. There's an extension libraries over there. You can add a lot of extensions, and it also has many themes. Which is your favorite theme, Eve, in the VS Code? I see you're
Dark.
using dark. Even I use dark.
I was not sure what I was thinking about now. Like
Yeah,
I had to make a decision. Yeah, yeah, it's the dark as
yeah.
always.
So dark is good. Dark is good. So I
Yeah.
think we'll wrap up with the session, and we are almost like 1 hour, and
So
it's
maybe
4:30.
I can just quickly mention where you guys can reach me, because
She's a
I
famous
also
girl, guys. You just Google her. She's a famous girl.
no, but I have a page on Facebook, and I actually
Indeed,
would prefer to get the questions there and not my personal Facebook, because
exactly.
you don't always notice it, especially when you're not friends. Those questions are going to this messaging thingy, but it's only showing up if I go and check it if it is there.
Exactly,
And I
exactly.
keep forgetting it. So it's better to just go and write on the Code with Dev Facebook page, or on
Mhm.
Twitter, of course, or what else? Yeah, well, anywhere you want.
So you would like to share that? Your
Yeah, we can do that. So should I share my screen again?
your wish.
Maybe that's easier to show
Yep.
it quickly. So you are also able to find some code and more explanation on the stuff on this blog. This is also going to be updated once in a while soon at some point.
Yeah.
Uh, and
You if you get a you can buy domains, right, with your current subscription.
oh
You
yes, of
can buy
course,
domains,
do
yeah,
that. Yes, you could do that.
from
It's
the
just
Azure itself.
you can do that. And if you go to Facebook and you go to Code with Eve,
Hmm.
so this page, you're also welcome to reach out and get some information.
So I was going to this page in the morning, and if you guys visit this page, one thing that you will notice is why the reason even why this Eve is showing you that you'll see the average response time is within 1 hour, and I
Oh yes,
really
yes, yes,
like
yes.
that. So it means even if she's
I don't
not
know where
using
was it,
her,
but yes.
yeah, if she's not using her personal account, I think she's here to help the community part. So I think you should get connected with her page. That will be really great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm always online on Twitter too. So
Yeah, you're very instant. You use Twitter as your instant chat application.
yeah, it's like I'm using it for almost everything, literally.
Yeah,
So
that's good. That's good. Um, and code with Eve dot Azure websites dot net or dot com
yeah, .net.
dot net and that's cool. That's cool. If you're watching this, if you want to tweet, you can tweet to hash code with Eve, and also you can tag C Sharp Corner. Don't forget at C Sharp Corner. That's very that's
Yes,
important, right? Okay, okay, that's important. So if you guys are actually watching this on C Sharp Corner, so as the name says, it's a C Sharp Corner. But if you will visit C Sharp Corner, it's actually a global community for IT professionals and data developers. And if you go to the technology section of C Sharp Corner, you can find Android, you can find all the technology. It may be Microsoft Azure, it may be AWS. It's a community. We will all work together. So maybe you should visit there. It's a 20 years old online community. Believe me, it started back in 1999 from
nice.
US, and it's a really old one. We have, I think, in monthly we have more than 75 million traffic just from Google. 75 million traffic. So that's a big community. So indeed, there's a lot of way to connect. We are glad to have Eve on our platform. Thank you so much for your time. You have been really helpful. I've been pinging you a lot on Twitter. All right. I hope you don't mind that. Okay.
No, no.
So,
Thank you a lot
and I,
for the time as well for
and
the invitation.
I just loved your session that you gave. And maybe in the future, we'll plan something new after some time. Once everything gets settled, even the guys who are at home stay safe. We'll keep on bringing all these live events a lot more. Let me find. I know a lot of your friends, Eve. I'm gonna pull everyone in this show, right? Everyone from the global AI. They also run the global AI. That was almost like 30 hours long webinar that they did. That's
Not almost,
really
it was
commendable.
30
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, I mean, I could watch it only for 5 hours. Then I went on. That this is getting over my head now. I'm not that expert to watch it. So that's all. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Stay updated on C Sharp Corner page and Twitter page, and follow me too. I don't forget to follow me. I have written my username as my name over there as Code with Simon. I think we both have the same, right? I use Code with
Yes,
Simon. You use Code with Eve. So
exactly.
it's for me. It's everywhere. Even on Facebook, it is Code with Simon. Instagram, Twitter, not LinkedIn. Maybe in LinkedIn. I'm not sure.
Maybe we should change these things,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. LinkedIn needs to be updated. I think so. Right? We're not that active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Cool.
All
So
right, guys. Thank you all for joining us. It was really
okay,
awesome.
bye, bye. Take care. Tara. Stay safe.